Hi students, today I am going to discuss the security services. So in the first video, I just remind some of the basic concepts related to the cryptography and related to the some of the security. So what the security services, which enhances the security services and to protect the data. So what the security service is nothing but a service can enhances the data security and which can be protect the data when it can be transmitted. So this is the initial concept in the information security, because of when the information is transmitting to the destination, how the information is secured. So this is a very fundamental and initial security concept. So any organization or the user may use some of the security services techniques to protect the data when it can be transmitted. So initially some of the security services are authentication, confidentiality, integrity, non-repudiation, access control and availability. So basically these are the 6 security services, and in the second stage criteria we can use the security audit and the key management. So actually these two are the related of the next level of the cryptography, because of security audit and the key management was the a different concept compared to the these 6 security services. The first one is the confidentiality, and second one is the authentication, and third one is the integrity, and fourth one is the non-repudiation, and fifth one is the access control, and the last one is the availability. And coming to this particular information, now you can observe in the authentication. So what exactly the authentication is nothing but, so this assurance that communicating entity in the one that is claimed to be. So that means whatever the information is taken by the sender, whatever the message is forwarded the message by the sender, so the sender point that entity is the one, so that is claims to be in the sense he is the only person who takes that particular authentication. So the authentication may be identified in the two. One is the peer entity authentication and second one is the data origin authentication. What exactly the peer level? Peer is nothing but the system level authentication. So whether this particular system may provide the authentication service or not, or any other person may be involved in this particular communication, that means the peer is a device, peer is a communication control which takes exactly the communication of the two parties. So that means the two party may be involved in this particular communication. It will be the checks whether this particular user may be system may be the authenticated or not. So that can be identified, that can be provide the security. That means the only authentication party can be involved in this communication. So that is a category of the peer entity authentication. That's why it is used in association, so with a logical connection to provide confidence in the identity of the entities connected. So whatever the entities are connected in this network, so this connection may be the logical. This logical representation is nothing but, so they should be communicating each other and transmitting the message each other with the help of the authentication. So that means here the peer entity authentication is one of the authentication service, security service. The next one is the data origin authentication. What exactly the data origin authentication is nothing but, in a connectionless transfer, it provides assurance that the source of received data is as claimed. That means here in the connectionless services is nothing but the PSN network. So that is a packet switching network. We know that there are two types of connections are there. The connection oriented in the sense, if the connection is established, then only the communication is possible. In the connectionless is nothing but, if there is no connection, even though the connection should be established with the help of the PSN, that is the packet switching network based on this internet connection. So it is a connectionless services which have to taken. The data origin authentication is nothing but, so when this particular connectionless, even though the data can be claimed, okay, to the two parties of the communication. So this is a data origin authentication. And finally, this authentication service is the service so that the communicating entity is the one that it is claimed to be securely. So this is an authentication. And second one is the confidentiality. So what exactly the confidentiality? A confidentiality is a service so that protection of data from unauthorized disclosure. So it can be protect the data from the unauthorized. Unauthorized here is nothing but the opponents. So the opponents are here the two categories. One category is the human side and another category is the software. So what the humans are related to the opponents are hackers and the crackers. So these two are the examples of the human side, and the two examples of the software sides are nothing but the viruses and worms. So what exactly the virus? Virus is a program which is infected to the other program. So it slowly infected that particular system, so which is going to be off. So that means the performance of this particular system may be decreased. So whenever this particular confidential service may protect this particular data from the unauthorized disclosure. So this particular data confidentiality may be taken in the 4 different situations: the connectionless confidentiality, and the connection oriented confidentiality, and selected field confidentiality, and the traffic flow confidentiality. Here is the selective field confidentiality and the traffic flow confidentiality is the one particular service. Now we can observe one by one. So in the data confidentiality, what this particular data confidentiality is the a different categorization of that particular data provide the security. The first one is a connection oriented confidentiality. Here the connection oriented is nothing but the traditional communication. I discussed earlier in this particular concept detailedly. Because of this particular traditional communication is a communication who establish the communication with the help of the a connections provision. So that's why this protection of all user data on a connection. So whatever the users which are connected, the connection oriented in the sense whatever the users are connected in the communication network, so it can be protected. This connection confidentiality can protection of all user data on a connection. This is the category of the connection oriented confidentiality. And second one is the connectionless confidentiality. What exactly this particular connectionless confidentiality is nothing but the protection of all user data in a single data block. That means all the data should be taken in the one single block. That single block can be provided the security. That means so by using the URL, we are requesting the connection to the server, that is the connectionless services. The protocol can request to take the connection to establish the connection to the proper destination. Here in this particular confidentiality of the connectionless services, the protection of all the user data, incoming message and outgoing message, all the user data in a single data block can be considered, and it provides the security. And third one is the selective field confidentiality. So what exactly this particular selective field confidentiality is nothing but the confidentiality of the selected field which is in the user data on a connection, or it is a single data block. So both of the connection oriented and the connectionless can be combined in the selected field. So if it is a connection oriented, then it go for the connection oriented. If it is a connectionless, then it go for the connectionless. So whatever the selected field confidentiality is taken, the data on a connection is very important, whether it is a connection oriented, connectionless, it protect a single block of data for the security. So this particular data selective field confidentiality. Fourth one is the traffic flow confidentiality. What exactly this particular traffic flow confidentiality is nothing but, so this particular protection of the information that might be derived from observations of the traffic flow. So that means whatever the traffic flow is considered, so some of the observations are taken, whether this particular packet is transmitting smoothly or not, is there any difficulty in this particular traffic flow. So it will be observed each and everything of that particular data when it can be transmitted through the traffic flow. So the observations are taken place, and it can be derived some of the security of information, so with the help of this particular traffic flow confidentiality. So this is the second service of the security. So that is the confidentiality, and the third one is the access control. So sorry, that is an integrity. So the third service is the integrity. Now integrity is a service which is taken on the modification of the messages. That means only the valid user can modify the data. The integrity is a service. Suppose if any data can be taken in the modification level, so that data can be modified by the authorized party only. So the unauthorized party may not be taken in the modification level. So that's why this particular data integrity is nothing but the assurance that the data received are exactly as sent by the authorized entity. So that means once the receiver can verify whether this message is coming from the sender point or not, that means exactly that message can be received by the authorized party. So that's why in the general communication, the traditional communication, one of the communication is there in the postal department. Once anyone can receive that information, they have to send acknowledgement to the proper sender. Okay, I am receiving this message. So that is a message which can be received by the authenticated party only. So this particular data integrity, the modification and whatever the changes are taken, that can be depends on that particular authorized party. That's why here the data integrity is also divided into the different category. So the connectionless integrity with recovery, connection oriented with identity integrity with recovery, and third one is the selective field connectionless connection integrity, and the last one is the connectionless integrity, and the fifth and the next one is the selective field connectionless integrity. So here also the integrity, you can observe integrity may be considered in the connection oriented with recovery, connectionless with recovery, and connectionless integrity, connection oriented integrity, and the selective field communication integrity. So these all are the integrity factors. So who modified the message? So whether the connection is taken in the connection oriented or the connectionless, it doesn't matter, but it should be taken the concentrating on that particular field of the modification of the message. Who modified the message? The authenticated party only modifies the message. He may be taken in the different consideration. Now the fourth one is the non-repudiation. Non-repudiation is the service. So what exactly the non-repudiation? Non-repudiation is completely based on the time factor. So within the time factor only the two users must be exchange the data. So without taking the time limits, the data should not be sent from the either the sender side or the receiver side. The policy is there. What the policy? The security policy. So it should be taken in the within the time factor. That's why here in the non-repudiation provides a protection against denial by one of the entities involved in the communication having the participated in all or part of the communication. That means, so the denial of services can be taken. So whatever the message is exactly sent to the time with based on the time only, the non-repudiation service, it can be sent the data securely. Other than the time, other than that particular policy time, so the message cannot deliver to the proper users. That's why the non-repudiation should be taken. So the non-repudiation taken in the origin side, that is the source side. The non-repudiations are also verified in the destination side. So it is a balanced factor which may be taken in the time factor. This is one type of service which protects the data. So we have to be observed. So the confidentiality is one of the security service, and authentication is one of the security service, and integrity is one of the security service, and the non-repudiation is one of the service. And the fifth one is the access control. What the access control mechanism? Access control is nothing but, so the information can be protected by the different resources like the user credentials. So user credentials in the sense, so whatever the user perspective, so they can be entered into the different resources like the password or the PIN number or the pattern or anything. So these all are the different types of services which can be made by this particular user to take that particular service of the communication when the message can be secured. So here you can observe the access control is one of the security service which can protect the which can prevention of unauthorized the prevention of unauthorized use of a resource. That means the service controls who can have access to a resources, under what condition access can occur. So everything can be revealed here in the access control, how it can be accessed, so where it can be accessed, where it can be transmitted, so how the user can be participants, everything can be observed in this particular access control mechanism. And the last one is the availability. Availability is the service, so which in the place of this particular authentication person, the availability service may be occurred. So suppose in the higher officials may not be available immediately, the service go for the available service. So this available service in the current situation only, not in the permanent way. The permanent way it is not considered. Only in this one particular period, one particular stage, this particular availability service can be defined. This is also one of the security service. Suppose for example, if the authorized party is not available, so he may go outside, he may go out of station, then authorized party may forwarded some of the that is authorities to the some more person. So whoever may be under that person may takes that particular services, he may continue the services without disturbing of the communication. So this is an availability. So these are the 6 major security services. The first one is the confidentiality, authentication, integrity, non-repudiation, access control and availability. Thank you.